Welcome back. Welcome back. We've got a new segment on the Soul Driven podcast. I'm so excited to kick off this new segment. It's called Soulful Skies. Really tried to find something that was fun and not corny and kind of maybe failed, but maybe not so much. We'll just see. Miss Stevie Calista and I are going to be diving in for this segment, like leading up to the beginning of every sort of like new astrological season, just talking about the upcoming sign, the energies that we're getting ready to step into, any important transits. I'm going to mix some things up, maybe bring in some Akashic overviews or pull some cards, or just like we're just going to have fun and kind of nerd out. I love astrology. I don't know if I love it as much as you, Stevie, but I definitely love it very much. So I'm looking forward to this new segment and kicking things off. Um, and we wanted to really kind of start with Capricorn season. You know, we do begin every single year, the calendar year, right, with Capricorn season, even though most of us who love astrology really kind of see the beginning of the year with that Aries new moon. But because so many people in the collective, you know, really kind of view January 1st as the beginning of the new calendar year, the year in general, there's a lot of power and emphasis and energy around that. And so we definitely want to acknowledge it. I'm such a huge fan of Capricorn energy. But it's definitely very different than that Aries new moon energy in regards to starting a new year. So welcome back to the podcast, Stevie. So excited to be kicking off this new segment with you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited to nerd out with you every month. Have a space to get our astro nerd on.
Well, I have my new journal. I left it over there, which is too bad. The Magic of I that I'm going to be using this year. It's actually a planner, and it has, you know, like all the transits for every day. I'm really wanting to like be a lot more intentional about following the moon cycles, and then also just paying attention to transits in general. So I might also like be bringing astrology stuff to really nerd out with as well moving forward.
Sweet.
Um, I'm just looking forward to it. So let's kick things off with talking a bit about Sagittarius season, which my birthday season, I'm sad to see it go. This one's been kind of intense with the Mercury retrograde in Sag, while Mars is also retrograde, you know, in Leo, which I mean, that's just hitting up my top three. You know, I'm a double Sag, Leo rising, and I got my rear end handed to me a bit. Yesterday, Mercury went direct, and I swear I woke up this morning kind of like, oh. I could feel that energy moving on. But you know, I think a lot of this work is setting Capricorn season up. So I'd like to just take a little bit to kind of reflect how has Sagittarius season been for you? And how do you kind of see it like setting up Capricorn season?
Yeah, I think it's so fascinating that the days leading up to the Christmas season is Sag because it has a vibe. You know, Sag season has a vibe. It's like Thanksgiving. It starts off that way, and then we kind of like it really brings us back to like not taking it all so seriously. I love Sag season so much. Yeah, I don't have anything except Neptune there, but I find that it's just like lighten up, guys, have experiences, have fun, tell stories, like just chill out, you know? And so Sag season for me, it has been a little wonky this year too because of the retrogrades, I think, but it's still such a refreshing energy to me. And I think the fire is so, I don't know, it's just so needed. And Sag kind of asks us to set up our bigger picture vision. So, like, what is it? What's your vision? What's your dream? Why do you do what you do? What's the reason? And it sets us up perfectly for Capricorn season as we move into our vision. Then Capricorn says, like, okay, well, what are you gonna do about it? You know? Um, and of course, we start our calendar year with Capricorn season because it's the top of the chart. It's when you hit the peak of the zodiac signs, and it's really all about, you know, taking responsibility and setting strong foundations for yourself for the year. Um, I also find it super fascinating that the winter solstice starts Capricorn season. because it's the darkest day in the northern hemisphere, the darkest day of the year, the longest night. And yeah, it's also the return of the sun. Um, I find that the winter solstice is probably the most sacred day of the entire year, at least in my opinion. That's how I feel about it. Um, and we like come back into celebration of this light, and then Capricorn gives us all this energy to do something with it, and to kind of push us through the winter season. I'm very grateful that it happens when it happens, and I too love Capricorn energy. Maybe that's our South Node, but we both share. We're like, oh yeah, we're made of the Capricorn archetype, right?
I can do it.
Yes.
Yeah, that like focused energy around Capricorn is just so attractive to me in kind of like whatever shape I experience it, you know. I think that and I really enjoy being in Capricorn energy like in that part of the year because it definitely does feel like, okay, like let's kind of get prepared for what's to come. Are you someone who then kind of like really more aligns with Capricorn kicking off the year, or do you see that more as like Aries, the Aries new moon? Like, where are you at with that?
Yeah, I actually think it's like when the sun moves into Aries on the spring equinox, that's really like the start of the astrological new year. But I would say, my practice is very much to follow the sun. And so like as it gets brighter and darker and becomes equal, and those cardinal points of equinoxes and solstices, those are like the most sacred, holiest days there are. But yeah, I think that the actual rebirth happens in spring. Um, but I do really appreciate that like we get pushed into a new year and think about what our goals are, and then we can tackle them with Capricorn season. So I don't hate on the Gregorian calendar because I'm so set up in the natural phases and seasons anyway, but I think eventually humanity will change and go back to lunar and solar calendars.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the difference to me, like Capricorn very much feels like a lot more internal, you know, than Aries. Aries is kind of like, yeah, you know, like the seed coming up through the ground, right? It's kind of like, let's do it. And Capricorn's kind of like it's a bit of like a portal of stepping through and like kind of like a sober sort of um perspective in regards to like what's coming. Like, okay, what do I want to do about it? How do I want to, you know, approach it? Those sort of things. Because Capricorns, I mean, like the Capricorns that I know in my life, the thing that I love and admire so much about them is just like the head down steadiness to just chip away at whatever it is that they're doing. And they're very clear on what they're doing. They don't let the emotions, you know, take them off course. They don't allow distractions to take them off course. Like they're so rock solid, man. Like I love that energy a lot. So it certainly does, I mean, you know, allow or support, I guess, the onset of a season for sure. What are some of the practices that you do around the winter solstice? How do you kind of celebrate that?
Yeah, but we basically usually do some crafting. So we'll make ornaments or like bird feeders, or with my daughter. Um, I like to get creative that day. I really, really like to, once the sun goes down, just keep the lights off and just go candlelit to really honor that, like to feel all the darkness that is there. And then I also create a winter solstice altar that I bring in evergreens and light it with candles and fairy lights and all the things to just to really honor the sun's energy, and just like the return of our own light too.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
For anybody who doesn't follow Stevie online, like, oh my gosh, she's spectacular with her decor and her oh my gosh, my her altars, and follow her on Instagram because what was it like early last year? I mean, I'm always in awe of women who have such a deep level of creativity, like can bring it to life, you know, like I walk into a craft store and like walk out with a plastic something, or I just get so overwhelmed. I don't even know where to start. I'm missing that gene and I would love to have some of it.
I know, I was just thinking the other day, I'm like, why don't I host like an ornament painting party
Oh
with
my
like a
gosh,
huge
yes.
charcuterie, and then like
Yeah.
just all the lit, just something for no reason except just to make it, just to be crafty and like give
Yeah.
people that outlet. So it's coming soon, hopefully.
That would be awesome.
Yeah,
I would
I love
attend
that
if I
stuff.
was in Michigan.
Totally.
I think that I mean, the thing is, I feel like the way that our culture is really moving right now, that those sorts of things are really coming back into focus. It's like I feel this strong pull for people to be together and
Mhm.
for people to, like come face to face and also to do like things with their hands, crafty things with their hands. Do you feel that as well?
100%. Yeah. And I think Mars being retrograde in Leo is like really asking us to pause and like play. Like, what did you use? What did you do? Not for money, not for security, none of that stuff, but like, what about the play? You know?
Interesting.
Yeah. It's
That's
probably,
kind of like just collectively.
yeah, totally. Like, where's little you at? Like,
Yeah.
when does she get to come out and play?
Yeah. Yeah.
Feeling that for sure.
Yeah. I've definitely, I mean, I think with the Mars retrograde in Leo, and then, the Sag retrograde with Mercury, because that was hitting my fourth house. It was very much about like, what do I love to do, in my home? Like, I ended up like completely rearranging my house, like all my furniture and bringing in some new things and making it a lot cozier and cuter and, not on Stevie level, but like on Anna level.
I'm sure it's beautiful, like super nesty, right? Like
Yeah,
that's
super
gorgeous.
nasty.
Slow
I
down and
mean,
nest.
yes, like I was so excited the first day, and then the second day I'm like, I don't want to work. I just want to like lounge in my perfect little corner over here because it's so pretty.
That's like my whole life, right? What you just said. I deal with that all the time. I did that this morning. I was like, I want to clean and like redo my spaces and like reorganize. Like I have collections of things as a Taurus. Of course, I have like little keys and like what are like those little Catholic prayer cards, Like what are they called? Why can't I think of it? I collect them. Um
Well,
so I
you know
have like
me
a
in
look.
words.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about though, right? Like
I
there's
do. I do.
Mary and um in the Christian religion they'd be called tracts, but they're not. They're definitely not. But yeah, I have collections of those and I was like staring at them like I just want to do this all day. This is so fun.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, it was like a nice little and a nice change, but I've been like knitting again and I've been like, diving back into my crosswords and just things that have always kind of brought me a lot of joy. Um, that I haven't done for years. Not
That's
even
amazing. It makes
uh
sense too with like the retrogrades. Like, wait a minute, back up a minute,
yeah. Yeah.
reassess.
Yeah. And getting social too has been really key. Like going to more networking events. Like I made a new friend and I'm so excited because she's like the first girl that I've met since I moved to Colorado that I'm just like, she's awesome. She's like such a beautiful person. She's a business owner, so we can geek out about that. Like she doesn't have kids or anything like that either. So, you know what I mean? It's just like such a nice, it's it's such a huge relief. But yeah, getting out has been really important for me because, as a Leo rising, the majority of this year I've spent indoors and then I made the big move and then I was also indoors just really recuperating and that was needed and necessary. But like my Leo rising double Sag self needs attention, needs people, needs to
Yeah.
be out and nurturing that has been really important for me.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah. Especially with Pluto and Aquarius, and I think Venus is still in Aquarius. So it's like go have fun with your friends and or even just like meet new ones, right? Go join a community.
Yeah. 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 It's been good. Um, has anything like really important come up for you in Sag season to kind of get you prepared for Capricorn season or
I think for me, it's kind of like I have been in my own business thinking about my vision, like why, but why are you doing what you do?
mm,
Um, Not just for the paycheck or not just like kind of reassessing what I love about my business and like why I love it and how I want to set myself up to create new structures and systems because I've basically rehauled everything about my business. So it's been really good to like give me that moment to really realign and find like my passion again in it. Because when you're a business owner, it can get like burnout can be really, even though you love what you do, it could be a lot and then it can just feel like that hamster wheel. So I love that we got Mercury retrograde and Sag season to really think about that. At least in my life,
mm.
that's how it showed up. It's like, whoa, 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 but why? And is it fun? Like what is this? Is it because Capricorn and my South Node is really serious. It's so serious. Like my essence, your South Node is like your essence, and it's super serious.
Yeah.
So I tend to veer that way, and I love Sag to like rebalance that out. Like, hey, it's probably why I collect so many Sagittarius people because you guys are lighten up, Charlie.
Well, you're a double Taurus too, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
lots of Earth.
lots of Earth. I know. Like, come on. All my friends
Shake
were
your
always
booty.
fire signs, always, just because you guys are so fun. Like, truly, not that fun, guys. Not that fun.
Forever kid, hashtag forever kid. That's like
Yeah.
how I see myself. I need people like you to help me like be more of an adult. It's like, okay, I want to do the adult thing. Like again, going to the store to like create something crafty and like, make it all yeah, decorate in general. And then it's just like, no, that's just too much. Like
No, it's not fun anymore.
I'll come out with my twig and
Yeah.
that's pretty. Someone help. Um, okay, so Capricorn season. I love to kind of like get, like your overall feel for Capricorn season first, before we dive in a little bit. Just kind of like, what are you feeling?
I think that last year it was like this too, because Mercury was actually retrograde beginning of the year. I don't know if you guys remember that, but I know Mercury will be is direct at this point, but still moving slowly. Mars is retrograde, so it's not your typical Capricorn season, I wouldn't say. We're still being asked to refine. Um, However, it is such a good time, like you were saying, is to just put one foot in front of the other and just keep climbing. Like there's a determination and seriousness about Capricorn season always that really offers you to create really solid foundations for your goals for the year. Um, and also, asterisk, it doesn't have to be the whole freaking year, right? Like I think we're like resolutions, and then we set ourselves up for failure. I remember when Mars was in Capricorn last January or something around, and I was like at the gym every day. I was like a psycho. I was so good. And then I remember being like, this is going to be forever, even though I'm an astrologer. Mars moved into Aquarius, like 4 weeks later, and I was like, oh, I'm not doing that anymore. Now I'm gonna join my community group over there and I'm ruled by Mars, guys. So it's this is why I'm giving you this example, but just so you know, like it just look, you don't have to look for the entire year because we have so many astrological shifts in 2025. Just think about like if it's your business or your home or whatever goals you have for yourself, you really can set a solid foundation and find and change some habits because you have enough grit with Capricorn to just keep going, just keep swimming. It just doesn't, there's only one way with Capricorn and it's up to whatever their goal and successes are. So, not that you can't pivot or change, but think about what are those things that want to really, what do you want to move into 2025 with at a foundational level and focus on those things. And also know that when Aquarius season comes and as planets shift, like you won't be as determined or serious. So don't feel guilty or like you set yourself up for failure because things are always moving and shifting. That's like the best thing astrology's ever taught me is like everything is so temporary. So just lean in while you can, and then it changes, and then you can lean in somewhere else, basically.
Yeah. No, I think that's honestly like even as you're speaking, I can really feel into, at least for myself, I think it's important for everyone to do what feels most aligned for them in regards to, planning the year and these sorts of things. But definitely for myself, again, because we did the 2025 astrology forecast. And I know I walked away from that just completely blown away at how much is going to be changing in like just the first half of the year. So I think that's a great sort of like point. Is just like maybe making some more generalized goals for like the first quarter or something like that, and then reevaluating it, in Aries season, and then reevaluating it again at the next what is it, Cancer? Is that the next kind of cardinal sign, right? And then Libra, maybe kind of going at it that way.
Yeah,
Um, how does that sound to you? Does that make sense? Like,
for sure. For sure. Yeah. And like when you tune into the solstices and equinox and then the halfway points of that, those are like reassess moments. So like
mm,
even the halfway point between the cardinal signs, which are the 15-degree signs of fixed signs, like Beltane, would be the one in between the solstice and equinox. So those are also moments of like, hang on a minute, do I need to move right, left, pivot in whatever way you need to. But yeah, and even just tuning into the what we're doing here on this podcast and the sun changing every 30 days and tuning into that energy will change your year for sure.
yeah, that's why we're doing it. Okay, perfect. So let's dive into kind of the astrology for Capricorn season. Like, do we have anything? Um, it kicks off on the 22nd, right? I guess you'll give us the dates. Yeah, I will hand it to you, Stevie.
So yeah, the 21st through excuse me, December 21st, the solstice until and then that could be the 22nd depending on where you are, all the way up until January 20th is Capricorn season. Um that's when the sun is in the sign of Capricorn, right? All the other planets are doing their own thing. Um that is we start the excuse me, we end the year with a new moon in Capricorn, which is pretty special because we get to seed the new year with Capricorn energy, which isn't typical how it goes.
Hmm.
And so on the 30th of December, we have a 9-degree Capricorn new moon. Um, this one isn't very tense, which is new because the new moons and full moons of 2024 have been kind of tense. So this one actually is like you really, really could plant a seed of intention on the 30th. And if you own a business, that's like what structures do you want to build in or anything in your life? Like what structures do you want to set up for yourself? What goals do you have for yourself? Um, and also like where do you want to take responsibility? Because, Capricorn's ruled by Saturn, and that's why Capricorn energy feels the way it does. Saturn says get to work. Do the karmic things you signed up for in your contract, like it or not. Yeah, you're gonna keep coming back to the same karmic stuff. So this is really where we can lean in and it's not as hard. We don't procrastinate as much, right? So plant this seed of responsibility, devotion, discipline, determination, whatever you want to do around your goals for the year. And then also the day before on the 29th, Chiron is moving direct. So whenever you have a planet shift from one direction to the other, it doesn't matter which way they go, you feel it. So the week of the 29th, we'll feel Chiron, which means we could feel triggered. We could look back at our healing journey. We could help someone else heal. there's really like a multitude of ways this can show up. Chiron can and usually does feel both. Like you feel triggered and you feel like you've helped heal someone or yourself. So his energy will be very available that week. Um, and then we start the new year with Venus moving into Pisces on January 3rd, which I love so much, but it's probably because my Venus is in Pisces. Um, so Venus moving into Pisces is like we all get like all snuggly and more compassionate and more creative and more heart-centered, maybe a little bit more distracted, emotional, dreamy, floaty. And so Venus will be in Pisces for the majority of January. And then Mercury goes into Capricorn on January 8th. So we'll have the Sun and Mercury both in Capricorn as of January 8th, and you can really get some shit done
Oh,
with
wow.
this.
That's nice.
Yeah. So you got Venus and Pisces, like, ooh, dream it. And then you have this Capricorn energy. So like, okay, well, what are we gonna do about it? Let's do some stuff with this. Or maybe
Yeah.
we just like turn on the good tunes and dance around while we do it, right? Um, and so Mercury and Capricorn is gonna ask you the same thing. Get serious, get disciplined, look at your foundational structures within your life and your business and figure out what how you want to proceed and do it. Take action. It's not like the kind of Aries action that just says go, go, go. This is more strategic and maybe slower and more methodical. So we all kind of get grounded in our thoughts and actions in January. Um, the other very big thing, which you guys got a little taste of this if you listened to the 2025 forecast, is that on January 12th, we have the North and South node shifting.
Oh, yeah.
So if you want to probably go deeper into that, I would suggest listening to the forecast because this is a really big deal for us because when the nodes shift, everything shifts socially, everything in our life shifts, our focus shifts. So you have the North node going into Pisces and the South node moving into Virgo. And so this is like a strong restructuring of how we serve ourselves and others. Um, it could be a spiritual reckoning in the spiritual communities or just in spirituality in our own lives in general, and how we can really realign our actions with our energy. Um, so yeah, that's a very big thing that happens in January. And the other thing is that Mars will be closest to Earth on January 12th. So Mars will be in opposition to the sun, but closest to Earth. So look outside around January 12th if you would like some Mars energy. Like one of my favorite practices is to go out and go hang out with the moon or go hang out with the sun. Like their energy is more available when you're underneath it. So um, Mars energy is all about action, drive, taking forward steps towards what it is that you need to be doing. It's very masculine and fiery. So that's cool. Mars will be at its biggest and brightest on January 12th, and then it will be in its opposition on January 16th with the sun. So think about it like the middle of the Mars cycle, basically. Um, and Mars energy will be very strong because of this. And something else too, like this is a total nerd moment, but the farther a planet gets away from the sun, the more it does its own work. The closer a planet gets to the sun, the more it's in like the sovereignty of the sun. It's almost like you're my boss because the suns are all of our boss, right? It's our source. So the closer a planet gets to the sun, the more that planet will do what the sun says, like it's captain. So the farther a planet gets away in its opposition to the sun, the more it's kind of like, I'm Mars. You can't tell me what to do. So so it's all the way in opposition on the 16th. So it's fully Mars in that point.
Oh, wow. So that could be an interesting experience then for us. And it'll be in Cancer, right? At that point
Right.
in time. Yeah.
Well, actually, is it? That's a really good question. I don't know if I looked up when it, I think you're right. I think you're right.
Yeah, I think it will be by then because I think it goes,
The 6th. Yeah.
yeah.
It was on January 6th. Yep.
Yeah, so that might be a day then to, I guess, be really to lead with curiosity.
Good
To not
advice.
start any arguments,
Yes.
to be mindful about how we communicate with others.
Yes. I had a client today actually. She was describing her last week or so, and she's like, I'm so much more short fused, but I am much faster to be observant of it. So like she'll get pissed about something not working and then it'll be like, oh, well, why am I like that? And actually, I'm so grateful that I have this. And she flipped the script. And that's just a really good example of really what Mars retrograde can offer us. Your fuse is shorter and things can be, you can feel more impatient, right? But then there is this moment of like, whoa, hang on, why was that my reaction? And you can flip the script and like actually repattern those behaviors. That's why it's so cool. That's why I love retrogrades. Said very few astrologers ever, right? Or humans ever.
I'm a fan of them. I mean, like I've always, since I've been paying attention anyway, for the most part, really enjoyed the Mercury retrogrades. But this one definitely hit me a bit different for sure. And just
So
had me reevaluating so much. There was so much of my shadow that came up, so many of my short, it was kind of intense. But I mean, it's not like I disliked it. Like I needed it, and it's very helpful information for moving forward. So, and similar to the nodal shift, Stevie and I talked quite a bit about Mars being in Cancer because that's going to be there for several months. And so, if you want to dive deeper on that, go check out the 2025 astrology forecast again. Lots of so much good information in that episode. I just felt like it was like jam packed. Um, and okay, beautiful. So does that kind of wrap us up in regards to our major transits anyway through Capricorn season?
yeah, the only other thing that I have is that the full moon in Cancer is on the 13th of January,
Mm, okay.
at 23 degrees. And so we'll be balancing out Capricorn and Cancer, which is, work and home, responsibilities and family, our feelings and our doings.
The
Um,
full moon's in Capricorn or Cancer?
Cancer, sorry,
Okay.
23 Cancer. Yep. On the 13th.
Oh Lord. Cancer.
Yeah. So the seeds that were planted on December 30th will come into illumination on January 13th. And something about that cycle will say, like, hey, I know you've been doing so much, but like, what about feeling? How do you
Ooh,
feel about it? So,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay. I always feel a little trepidation when I see Cancer. I'm just like, oh, I just don't wanna.
But don't make me. Unless we can just hidey hole, like that would be cool.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's I think now that Pluto has moved, out of Capricorn, I'm curious to see what Cancer is going to feel like this year,
Yeah,
you know,
very good point.
because I feel like for me personally anyway, that really kind of put some pressure, it's like tension points, like not only through Cancer season, but whenever new full moons, like just kind of extra. And for the
So
longest time, it was like every time the moon, was in Cancer, it was like, okay, here come the tears about something. I don't even know what, but it was just open, raw, just purge, purge, purge. So maybe a little bit of relief. I don't know. We'll see.
we'll see. We'll see with Mars
We'll
being
see. We'll
in
see.
Cancer retrograde at that point too.
Yeah. Um, okay, cool. So I wanted to share, I pulled a couple of cards for Capricorn season, again from my Shamanic Healing Oracle card deck. This is the very first Oracle card deck I ever got back in 2019, and I just love it. It's just very simple, it's very earthy, very grounded. Um, and so I pulled three cards, and I think you'll find these interesting, especially after talking about some of the transits and the energy that we're kind of stepping into. So the first card, perception. Um, and perception, of course, is always about like how are we perceiving an event, that we're in? How are we perceiving a conversation? Is our perception really truthful? Or are other emotions or things like that kind of coloring our experience, right? And I think through Capricorn season, we're really going to be called to evaluate that perception, evaluate what it is that we're seeing. And kind of like Stevie was just talking about a minute ago, like with Mars kind of being like, okay, I'm triggered, but like, wait, why am I triggered? What's going on here? Having that ability to kind of take a step back. Um, the book says nature strives to retain balance. It is only our perception and labels that cause us to think otherwise. Right. So again, just like taking a moment as we kind of move through Capricorn season to just, am I really seeing, like, I know over the weekend, something popped up with a friend where I heard that she had kind of shared some information about me. And I was like, wait a minute, that's not cool. It didn't make me happy. And then a couple of hours later, I just kind of made a decision that I would like talk to her when I talked to her, and just kind of let her know I didn't like want that to happen in our relationship. And then a couple hours later, I realized I saw the situation clearly and like why she did what she did. And there was nothing vindictive about it or malicious or anything of that nature. But when it first hit me, it was like, whoa. It brought up some older things. And so I think that that's really, again, like giving ourselves time to evaluate our perception and really kind of watching our reactions. Like if something does trigger you, take a step back, take a moment, take a beat. And then also remembering that when we let go of like the way that we think certain situations are supposed to be, it's kind of like those expectations, then we give them the opportunity to just really like open up how they're naturally meant to, right? It's kind of like in our spiritual work. If we're going to our guides and asking a question and we're like kind of secretly looking for them to show up in a certain way or to give us certain information, then that kind of like colors the whole thing. And I know for myself, often I'll walk away feeling frustrated or, just kind of like, they're not doing it. And then I realized later, like, that was not them, that was me having an expectation. Um, do you see any of the December transits kind of showing up with that card,
I
Stevie?
think it's so such a good word for the energy of it. Because I think too, like with Capricorn energy, we can have so many expectations. I think that's a really good word for Capricorn. Like we know where we want to go, and so we just expect that if we keep doing this, we're going to get to that goal space. And expectations are literally like they ruin everything, truly. Like think about it. It ruins all your like being and all the experience you could be having and openness and curiosity. So I think perception is really interesting because we could actually change our reality if we have a different perception of it. Um, and keeping that in mind as you move through Capricorn season could probably be very freeing for us.
Yeah. Yeah, that's such a powerful point because our perception really does shape our reality.
Yeah.
So that's huge. I love that you pointed that out. Our second card is called Ancient Wisdom. And this is really about the importance of not only getting outside and connecting with the earth, but also like paying attention to how nature operates. It's like squirrels don't try to be birds, right? Squirrels are squirrels. Trees don't try to be um I I don't know, buffalo. It's just the first thing that came to my brain. They're just trees. They're hanging out. They're in one place. They're growing, and that's really like, I think a beautiful piece of wisdom for us to remember as we're moving through. It's like, don't try to be something that you're not. Don't compare yourself to that which you are seeing or that which is around you. Like really being able to come to peace with who you are and how you show up in the world. And I feel like the Aries Libra kind of, uh nodal pattern that we're currently in really helped us to step more into ourselves. But kind of as we move through Capricorn season as well, like, again, getting outside and really allowing nature to kind of be a part of how you want to view your world around you, how you want to shape, the ways in which, going back to how you perceive it. Um, but then also remembering that, like, your uniqueness is so needed at this point in time on the planet. Who you are, your voice, and I talk about this on the podcast. I've really talked about this a lot over the past several months, but we're being called to step up, and we're not being called to step up as anybody else other than we are. So I think this is really beautiful for Capricorn season, since it is kicking off the new year, and maybe taking a moment to think about, like, okay, who am I? The question the Akasha has been asking us for the past several months, every month. Who am I? How do I want to show up? Who do I want to be? And really, really resting in that. Um, and then just the last card that kind of came up, and this card actually came up for the 2025 astrology forecast that we did. I shared this in the intro part, is grounding, grounding. Really remembering that grounding is so important for us. And, in the midst of grounding, I mean, I think that we forget that our true grounding comes from connecting with the divine, connecting with the earth, because we are earth. And I think we often go to food, alcohol, sex, like all these, like, sort of like numbing, shopping, all these, like, sort of numbing agents, like trying to help us ground ourselves. I know back in the day when I used to drink a lot, on days when I was just really in my upper chakras and just really kind of like, whoo, feeling so good that I didn't, I would honestly, like, want a glass of wine. That was like the first thing I wanted, to kind of help me come down, and or some type of sugary food. And as we move through Capricorn, and we are stepping into this new portal that is 2025. And like Stevie, shared with us in that episode about how much is coming for us, like, our bodies already know, our bodies are already feeling that. And it's so important for us to really kind of connect in with, like, what are the true grounding components? What practices can we utilize? And we can start practicing that now, and getting clear on those things as we kind of step through. And I think Capricorn's a great energy in which to really narrow that down for us. But I loved what the book said. It said, you should not be getting your energy outside yourself, but directly from the divine. Is that meditation, breath work, connecting with the Akashic Records? You know what I mean? Like, what is that for you? And really getting clear on that. And then just last card that I pulled from this, like, fun little I am motivational card deck. I thought it would be fun. I am triumphant. Is our mantra for the month ahead, and a great way to step into the new year as well. And it says, I celebrate all victories, big and small. And I know for myself, that's really been something that's coming up a lot in this past month and a half. Is just like, how much do I celebrate and what do I celebrate? And that triumphant is when we can connect with, like, oh my gosh, even something small, like, okay, I wanted to clean my house this weekend and I actually got it done. And to celebrate that, all the way up to maybe a big achievement with our work or a friendship or relation, whatever the case may be, right? But I mean, how Capricorn is, I am triumphant. Because Capricorns are going to be triumphant. Like, that is the energy. Like, it's happening. It doesn't matter how long it takes. It doesn't matter what pops up. Like, I am triumphant.
Yep. I really love too, like the card of ancient wisdom and grounding together, because Capricorn is like, I always tune in, it's like the grandmother wisdom, or like the elder wisdom, the indigenous wisdom that's always been and will always be. It's wisdom, you know? Like, it's what you look to reconnect with the truth of life. And so I always see like the grandmother tree, and the fact that you pulled both of those things is like really fitting, I think, because I think grounding is going to be one of the biggest words that you'll probably be pulling almost every single month this year, because we're going to really, really need to focus on being in our bodies as we transition into a lighter version of ourselves, as we're traveling through a place in the cosmos that there's more light, which means that the heaviness of the human body can feel like a lot. So just like you said, there's places where we will numb. But I think too, like the fact that Mars has a lot of activity happening in January and there's so many shifts happening this year, that body movement and connecting with our physical cells is going to be so important. Um, and also just the changes that are happening all around us and how connected we are. It's really important that we literally go sit on the earth with some sort of skin to skin contact so that she can literally pull some of the excess energy off of our bodies. It's like we're in a constant stimulated mode. And I think it's so important to just like spend 5 or 10 minutes doing that. It really could be that simple. It's just like go ask her, who she is source, she's the divine, to like take some of that excess electricity off of you and come back to center. This doesn't have to be crazy, but I love that you pulled those cards. That feels so fitting.
Yeah. Yeah, that's like such an incredible point. Like I didn't even think about the earthiness of Capricorn, you know. Um, and I definitely see the sort of like grandmother wise energy that you're talking about for sure.
Yeah.
So, yeah, thank you for those reminders. I mean, exercise to me has always been, I think, the most grounding thing that I can do for myself. My body has so much energy and exercise. I mean, I sometimes it's really freaking hard to get me there, but I'm so happy afterwards.
Mm.
Dancing and singing have been really grounding to me in this past month as well. I've really been leaning into those a lot. Um, so yeah, thank you for bringing that back to the forefront. And again, I just, I encourage our beautiful listeners to really think about what grounds you,
Yeah.
what brings you back to center. It's okay sometimes to like have some sugary food or do these sorts of things. It's just like we need to be really mindful because there is so much that is changing around us and our bodies are definitely feeling it, even if we aren't necessarily conscious of it. And entering into like, Capricorn season takes us right into a brand new year. And so like, how intentional do we want to be about entering into that new year? And this year to me feels so much bigger than the last couple of years for sure. Not only because I know what's coming astrologically, but just energetically. I'm really being called to prepare in ways that I haven't before. So awesome. Miss Stevie, is there anything else that you'd kind of like to share to wrap things up with our
No,
Capricorn season here?
that's all I got. I love those cards that you pulled. That was a good way to wrap it.
Yeah. Yeah. And don't forget, folks, I am triumphant. This is our mantra, you know. Put it on a put it on a post-it note, stick it all around your house. Because Capricorn definitely loves a clear intention. I am
And to
triumphant.
celebrate the wins, right? Like I did the laundry and I folded it and I put it away and I'm winning the day.
I got out of bed, my
Yeah,
cozy, comfy, best bed I've ever owned. That's like heaven on earth.
totally.
That's kind of a daily celebration for me. It's a win. Because damn, it's cozy.
Totally.
All right, my dear. Thank you so much for being here with us, Stevie. And here's to our new segment.
Cheers. We are
Yeah.
triumphant. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, folks. Thank you for being here and tuning in with us. We are sending you so much love for the upcoming Capricorn season. Make sure that you tune in. Stevie and I will be doing these throughout the year, offering up great guidance for what is to come. And please share this episode with someone that could benefit from it. Leave a rating review wherever you listen. Thank you so much again. And don't forget, when we invest in ourselves, the world benefits. Until next time.